All right, hello everyone, and welcome to this new episode of Beyond the Airbrush. And it will be the last episode of the year because Christmas is around the corner. And what is best for Christmas than another episode with some word bearers,
The best
isn't it?
Christmas present that you
Yeah.
could ask for.
And today I'm very pleased to be with Anson, who is most known by the his insta handle Wordy brush. And I'm very, very, very pleased to meet in a video, but at last, because I think you started your Instagram account not so long ago, maybe what, 1 year and a half, 2 years, maybe?
About a year and a half ago, yeah.
Yeah.
So it'll be the 2 year anniversary in April.
Okay, yeah, so less than 2 years ago. And I remember seeing maybe one of your first posts. It was no, not a rhino, maybe a scorpius, something like that. And
It was a bunch of Terminators, I think. The Cataphracti.
yeah, so maybe it wasn't your very first post, but as soon as the mini popped on my screen, I was like, oh, this is cool. Oh yeah, oh, this is seriously
You know,
very, very cool.
that's the dream, right? Because I mean, before I did Instagram, I had no idea how it would turn out.
Yeah.
You'd always painted things, and hobbying is a very solitary
Mm.
process. It's there for you, and I guess we could talk later about, I guess, the function it serves for
Yeah.
people who
Mm.
want to relax, take some time off, and so on. But all of a sudden, having the biggest audience there is, the
Mm.
internet, kind of taking a look at it. You do imagine in your head, don't you? You're like, what are people thinking when they're
Mm.
looking at my painted models? And, I guess to hear it in the flesh, and now I've heard it quite a few times, as you go from those first 10 followers to 3,000 or whatever your big number is.
Yeah.
Um, I think hearing those human stories, like I looked at your picture and I thought, wow, like that's kind of why you do it, right? You want to make people happy looking
Mm.
at your pictures of painted models or whatever it is.
Yeah, absolutely. So now you have quite a few models on your on your profile.
Yeah.
That's my bad. I absolutely forgot to put the nationality flag on the presentation. So yeah, this is on me. But you are so from England, or maybe part English, part Danish,
Yeah, so I mean, I guess the flag would be quite difficult because I was
yeah.
born in Denmark. My mum is Danish. I have a Danish passport, but then I moved to the UK when I was very young.
Okay.
So I've kind of lived between both of those cultures. And I guess the last no retreat I went to was both as Danish as well.
Mhm.
So I don't know, you could try and do a mixture of the two flags.
Yeah, a split one.
Yeah.
Yeah. But as you can see, those are well, maybe not the latest post because I did screenshot it a while ago, but you can have some word bearers, of course, on Anson profile and some Mechanicum too, but also incoming, and we are going to talk about it quite a few minutes, some Death Guard, and I you have to say I am already in love with those guys because with your painting style, it's just right on spot. Like, those guys are toxic. They smell.
Yeah, it's the funny thing, isn't it? I want them to be clean. I think that's partly my style, but they're the least clean Legion. So how do you make a clean, toxic, dirty Legion? And I've been kind of figuring that out as I go.
Yeah, and yeah, just you can see that on the slide. Anson has a quite very handy and very interesting quick tutorial on how he paints his word bearer red. This is a post with the Galvar back. I
Mm.
think it's yeah, you did that this year or earlier this year, and yeah, it's very interesting how you deal with the shadows and to make the red pop. It's a very
Yeah.
interesting and useful tutorial.
Well, it's an attempt to try and solve the dark red problem of the word bearers, right?
Mm,
Because I think a
yeah.
lot of people they try the Legion out and they try the specific dark red and they bounce off it quite hard because it does not come out how they wanted to come out.
Mhm.
Because you see those Forge World books, right? And it's like, here are the word bearers. This is their really dark, grungy, browny red. And that looks really cool. I want to emulate that. And
Mhm.
then you see them on the tabletop, or and you just think, they look like I've just kind of put Null Oil all over it. And I can't see a single detail. So they think, you know what, screw this, I'm moving on. But yeah, that post there, how to read, I just kind of slapped it together in the most haphazard way,
Mhm.
and it's by far, I think, the most viewed and
Mhm.
looked at, watch time, all of that picture on Instagram. So it's also been funny, like you start to once you get a post like that, which is how to paint red in your way, you begin to see other people doing their word bears, and you think, have they been looking at my guide? Is that a
Mhm.
little bit
Yeah.
of my red in there?
Mhm.
Which is, yeah, amazing. Actually, absolutely amazing because I'm such a word bearers fanboy, and the idea that you can have, I guess, an effect on the broader word bearer
Mhm.
community in terms of how they view the Legion and how they paint it is, wow, yeah, couldn't ask for more.
Yeah. Well, I rarely look at tutorials or and when I'm getting some inspiration from one, well, it can happen sometimes. I just, I just tag the guy on yeah, when I post a mini, if I'm using or a part of or some elements from a tutorial, I'm just trying to
Mm.
tag the guy just to say, hey, look, what you did was useful. Well, at least I tried to do it. But actually, you are well. We are going to discuss that in details a bit later. But you are using some teal to shade on the recesses, etc. And
Mm.
actually, uh, I mean, I tried your way, but I don't have an airbrush, so it was
Ah,
quite messy, and so
mhm.
well, I sticked with my regular method. But
Yeah,
I would recommend anyone who is into the word bearers or just who likes that kind of red to have a look at the tutorial. It's really super useful and very comprehensive. So yeah,
amazing. Yeah, I mean, we can go much more into that later, but in
yeah,
short, I think people's idea of painting red does not involve green and teal, right? And
exactly.
when you realize these strange hacks of how painting
Mm,
and color works in tandem, you begin, I think a whole new world opens up. And
absolutely.
that was part of my long journey, I think, in trying to figure out what is word bearers red to me.
Mm. Yeah, and I mean, your journey began a while ago because, as
Uh-huh.
as we can see, those are two OGs minis, two OGs word bearers that you painted a while ago,
Long
maybe.
time ago. A
Yeah,
long time ago.
and as we can see, the left one, with the banner, is a metal
Mm.
one, I
Yep.
guess. Yeah. So yeah, it speaks to to his
Speaks
old
to
age.
the extreme age both of the model and of me.
Yeah, but so this is, I mean, I discovered the word bearers when I got into the heresy, but I
Yeah.
never have heard of them when I was into 40K. But well, actually, once again, I may repeat myself over all those episodes, and I'm sorry about that. But I played 40Ks in the early 90s. I mean,
Oh,
from 92 to 94. So, World Bearers, well, we had Chaos Space Marines, but
yeah.
specific ones, I can't remember having heard of them. So,
No,
discover,
the identity of the different, especially
yeah,
the Chaos Legions, came
mm,
much more later.
yeah. So, discovering that someone is into the World Bearers for such a long time was
Yes.
a delight. I mean,
Yes.
and yeah, and I love what you did to with the golden trim. I mean, those guys are with what obviously the goblin green bases are a
Gotta have
classic.
that.
Yeah,
Yep.
but I love also that like the bolts with the red stripe to hold them onto the bolter. It's
Mm.
wow. I love those guys. I really love them. And actually, you can see and you can tell that sculpting uh, had such a huge improvement since then because they were quite bulky and everything was yeah, like you want to paint
Well,
the cables or yeah, it was a
it was just
nightmare.
much harder to paint back then for so many reasons, right?
And yeah,
I mean, I still have some of the original paints here, but they just didn't cover as well. They were difficult to use. And the models themselves, I mean, if you just look at these models, it's the trim, it's almost directly onto the surface of the
yeah,
model so that the details aren't very easily separated. So you'd be using these terrible brushes and these terrible paints in terrible lighting because we did not have these amazing 200-pound lamps or whatever they were. We were just using mum's like spot lamp or whatever, and your paintbrush would go all over the place because the details themselves were like so kind of smushy and close together,
mm,
and nobody, I think, expected each other back then to kind of paint well. And the books, when they would show, I guess, the heavy metal painting style, that was just
mm.
a myth. That was never attainable. That was,
No,
it's like the
no,
Silmarillion, like
it was like
ancient tech.
step one, this, step two, this, etc. Like four steps usually. And when you when you got to step four, you were like, no, it doesn't really look like it should look like. Yeah, there's something that I'm missing. Yeah.
No, I mean, I have right with me here and I'm kind of spoiling the surprise here a little bit, but the first box of Plague Marines ever got in the 90s.
Whoa.
And this
Whoa.
doesn't even come with a painting guide. You just have no idea what's going on. They're just telling you these are really cool Chaos Space Marines and paint them and they'll look like this. And boy, oh boy, did they not look like that.
Yeah, I'm sure. So let's start with the question. An
Go.
easy one for starters.
Yeah,
Can you
too
state
easy.
the decade you were born?
Absolutely. The 1980s, 1986 to be precise.
Right. So another young lad. That's cool. And how did you get into the hobby?
I love this story. It's kind of becoming a bit of a campfire one for me and the kids and so on. But I lived in a small northeastern town of England, not a huge amount going on. And there was this hobby store that I would always walk past on the way to doing whatever 11-year-olds do
Mm,
in a small town. Um, and I was particularly, my dad, I think, he had a almost unhealthy interest in World War II and the models and stuff like that. And he would
mhm,
get me in the same way I would then get my son later, models that he was interested in.
mm,
And, I would get particularly like the German stuff, like the Messerschmitts, the
mm,
Panzers, World War II models here and there. And I would paint them with him and I would like glue them together. And I thought, you know what, I will go in this hobby shop and I'll see if I can get a cool tank or whatever. Maybe my dad would like it.
mm,
And I went in and I saw these and I saw the Chaos
mm.
Space Marines as well. And this was so different to the very serious and
Oh
World
yeah.
War II, this
Mm.
German soldier, that British soldier. These were like bright and these were colorful and they had Plague Marine on it. I was like, well, what's that? Like, what's Nurgle? What's a Nurgle Plague Marine? Um, and I looked across the different models as well, because there was obviously the Space Marines, right?
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I was like, that's called Space Marine, but this is called Plague Marine, and this is called Chaos Space Marine. And I thought, isn't it just cooler if it has Chaos and Plague on it rather than just Space Marine? So there was that. I'd also just watched The Rock, the film from the 90s, and I thought the
Yeah.
Marines there were really cool. I was like, well, these are Marines, but these are Chaos Marines. What's that all
Oh,
about?
okay.
Um, so I went up to them and I looked at the back. It's like Plague Marines ravage the galaxy, leaving corruption, pestilence, and decay in their wake. I mean, that's pretty cool, right? I want to do that too. Let's get these guys and see how much they can ravage. I remember looking at the Space Marine box as well, and it sounded cool and I loved them, but
Mm.
I bought these guys and I bought some Chaos Space Marines for £5 each, which I think was an incredible amount of money back then for me.
Yeah.
So I brought them back and I had no idea how to paint, no idea what
Mm.
was going on. I was 11, 12. Um, and I guess it's not long after that I would introduce my friends to it. We would literally glue the models together and play on the wall.
Yeah.
Like, because, we would have to go out and do things back then. There
Hmm.
was usually no computers or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but the kind of things went from strength to strength, basically. I then went with my nana, who took me to Middlesbrough, the big town, the big Games Workshop store. And that was when I first laid eyes on the Chaos Space Marine Codex. And
And
the guy at the Games Workshop store was like, "Oh, these are what you want." And on the front, it was like, wow, there was Abaddon, right? And there was all these big Chaos Terminators. And I said, "Can I read it?" And I remember my nana, she was the most patient lady in the world. She just let me sit down there and read it. And I read through, I think, for about half an hour. And I remember specifically going, and this was where it happened about 11, 12. I got to the word bearers section, right? And it said, blah, blah, blah. The word bearers, they worship the emperor. And then the emperor told them off for it. And now they're getting back at them. And I thought, I actually feel sorry for these guys. I generally remember feeling about the age of 12, I felt pity for them. I was like, they only did their best
mm,
and they were punished. And I think, this is kind of like absolute rocket fuel for someone who's 11, 12, 13, right? It's
mm.
like against establishment. It's like, well, if what I'm doing is not good enough, then boy, oh boy, are you going to pay the price for not seeing that? And I always like the bad guys and stuff like that. So the word bearers, to me, it wasn't just that I felt sorry for them, but they were baddies, but they owned it. They were
Mm.
like, we are bad and we are not just going to accept that, but we are going to make a religion out of it, like the bad religion, and we're going to ravage the galaxy. And I just fell in love. Um, yeah, I mean, this story could go on for a long time, right? How I got into it, but I think I'll just end with, I would go to school. I remember specifically being in a design and technology class where everybody was doing, I think I was about 14 at the time. Everyone was doing like their little cars and so on. And I made myself a little word bearers painting draw and I like drew word bearers. And nobody had an idea what was going on. Like they would look at it and say, what is that? It was so niche at the time and it was a niche within the niche as
Yeah.
well. I mean, this was a time when Warhammer was either not known or definitely not popular,
Mm,
before Henry Cavill came along and made it all seem like we all had a big plan about it.
mm.
Um, so yeah, I mean, that's it really. Small hobby shop, loved the baddies, felt sorry for them, and off we went.
Oh, I have to say that's the more moving story I've heard about the world bearers and how one can become a fan. No,
It's a
eh,
strange one. It's a strange one because it's that mix between, I guess, when you get into something when you're really young, it does make a different impact, right? I
yeah,
mean,
oh,
nowadays, if you want to
absolutely.
get into the word bears, you'd read the first Heretic, you'd be like, oh, Adral, he's really good, I guess. He's also a character that strikes pity, right? He has a tragic end. Oh, spoilers.
Yeah,
The word bearers are painted in quite a good light, but also, even at the start, there was room, I think, where the word bearers were presented with a more, how do you say it? You could empathize with them. At least I could. Maybe that says more about me than
but
the word bearers, but there we go.
I think, and I mean, I am also a big fan, so yeah,
Yes.
I love them, and actually, well, the only thing it's reading the Lorga novel, the Primarch from the Primarch series. I
Yes.
well, I felt the book wasn't up to the standard. Yeah, oh yeah, yeah, that's a beautiful book.
The collector's edition of it. I am a nerd, trust me.
Yeah, no,
If it's
you are
not,
one.
yes.
You are the one true fan. But about the rest is yeah, I absolutely love them because actually they believed in something different than
Mm.
just the emperor's will, the Imperium of Man, etc. And
Yeah.
Lorga is, I mean, was he willing to do it or not? We can't tell, but he is a victim of his own curiosity. He wanted to know what was beyond what he had been told. Like,
And yeah,
uh,
I could talk so much about this, but I mean, Lorgar's a philosopher, right?
yeah,
He's the
like,
he's the religious philosopher. He was always meant to be I guess, the arch proponent of the imperial truth, who
mm,
binds, I guess, the galaxy's community all together. That was his job. Um, and he's religious as well,
yeah,
and he's often very much mocked for it by his brothers, the Primarchs, and I
mm,
think also mocked a little bit by, the community as well. Like Lorgas, the weakest of the Primarchs. He's religious when obviously, being religious is wrong in terms of the book and the imperial
yeah,
truth and so on. But we should not really forget that gods genuinely exist in this setting.
yeah,
Um, Prayers literally work.
Mm,
both to the Emperor and to the Chaos Gods. So
absolutely.
he kind of was found out to be right in many ways. And also, we all know, those of us who are in the know that the imperial truth and the religion of the Imperium in 40K is
Mm,
based precisely on his writings.
yeah.
And, he's not just a philosopher, and I guess a priest, but there's a kind of a sense of a shepherd leading his flock.
Mm,
He loves his brothers, his sons. Like there's always a kind of tragic, deep love to it. Although that does kind of step into a little bit of, oh, I must sacrifice my sons, and it must be done. I'm sorry, to kind of legitimize some of the
mm,
crueler and colder things that he might do. But he's very much the essence of the ends justify the means as well, right? Big ideas, like lots of philosophers and people behind the big ideas. We must sacrifice the present for the glory of the future.
yeah,
And that
exactly.
future is,
Mm,
I guess, the hybridization, the bringing together of the immortal plane,
mm,
the warp, and the physical realm. Because it's his true belief that through that humanity ascends and
mm,
secures its safety.
yeah. And I also have to say that the word bearers got pretty lucky with the people who wrote their books on the Heresy series because
That's a big one. Yeah.
Dembski Bowden is yeah, well, he's a very
Well,
talented writer, and those books are so cool. Like the first Heretic,
yeah. I mean,
Betrayer, they are awesome.
the funny thing is that I think that often people will accept that the best books in the heresy, uh, Betrayer and First Heretic, will be there in the list
Yeah.
for everybody.
Mm.
And the community there, it's kind of like a meme, right? Everybody hates the word bearers. Um, and yet understands that the best books are about the word bearers.
Yeah.
And without the word bearers, I'm sure it's been mentioned before, but there would not be a 40K. There would not be without people who love this hobby should every day be waking up thanking Erebus that he made the hobby that you love. Otherwise, we'd be living in the stale atheist world of the
That's
Emperor's success.
absolutely 100% agree on about that. Yeah, but I mean, I guess you have to be a bit of a grown-up to understand that and to go beyond the point to just like,
Mm,
yeah, Erebus is a fucker and he does only bad stuff. He's a fucker and everybody hates him. Yeah, but
yeah.
y- a good story needs a good villain. Like,
Mm,
all those James Bond
yeah.
movies. If the villain isn't up
Yeah.
to the task, the movie is crappy. It's so I mean, we have a pretty great one.
Mm,
Erebus is a pretty great one. Corferon is, in my opinion, yeah, is a villain, but
mm.
is not up to the standard of Erebus. But yeah.
No, I mean it's interesting because I don't super love Erebus or Corferin. They're kind of great in the. I think is I don't dislike them because they're evil. I kind of think it's the word bearers to me are very kind of close and emotional, right? I felt sorry for them. They're my boys. They're my brothers in arms. And Corferin and Erebus do kind of treat them a little bit like pawns,
Yeah.
sacrificial playthings for their own selfish goals and
Mhm.
ambition.
Yeah.
Almost to the extent where I think there's a weird theory that Erebus is actually from the Alpha Legion. Um,
Mm. Yeah.
which is probably, it's likely not true and so on. But it's difficult to kind of go, these are the good things about Erebus and Corferin. They are
Mhm.
more or less just unapologetically bad. And I think there was that story, wasn't there? I don't know if you've seen it, but it gives the backstory almost of Erebus. So he's like interrogating this poor bedeviled prisoner or whatever who's probably not going to have a good time once this
Mhm.
conversation's concluded. And he goes, let me tell you about my past. And I think we as the audience are meant to expect what was the key moment that turned
Mm.
Erebus bad?
Mm.
Did he have a hard childhood or what terrible thing happened? But no, he was just always terrible. Since he was 6, he was torturing scorpions. He always
Yeah.
loved to lie. He loved to manipulate. He got into the priesthood of Colchis and immediately began to abuse his power. Like
Mm.
he has always been awful.
Yeah. But I mean, being awful is very great at it, and that's why I
For
love
sure.
him. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, he's a
Because the role of villains is to present the problem in the story that the heroes react to. Without
Mm.
this problem, the heroes wouldn't do anything. They would just
Exactly.
simply protect the status quo. So, like, your role of writing a villain or playing the villains is, I'm a big traitor fanboy. If I'm collecting a Legion, it's going to be a traitor one, right? Um, but it's to create that interesting narrative
Mm,
and to give people something to hate, something to fight against. And
exactly.
I think the word bearers have done an incredibly successful job of that.
And so you said so you are in hobby since what almost 20 years, or did you have some breaks or
Oh, definitely breaks.
yeah.
I think if I was painting constantly for 20 years,
Mm.
who knows? Who knows what I'd be painting right now? But yeah, I mean, the story, I think, like a lot of people's, goes early teenagers very much into Warhammer. After I got that codex, my army built up. I got land raiders. I painted word bearers on it with terrible freehand,
Yeah.
and I got a bunch of other people. Like a good word bearer, I proselytized to my friends and said, "Please come and join me in this endeavor." And about three or four of us got involved, and we would play Warhammer every Saturday at this very run-down leisure center at the end of town. I met the weirdest people there. Um, I mean, they were awesome too. Haven't seen them for a long time, but extremely strange people. And my word bearers would fight against my friends' Ultramarines. And I think, and funnily enough, I didn't know at the time,
About
but
Carl. Yeah.
no, about Calf, but
Mm.
I spent 80% of my battles fighting Ultramarines, uh, 13, 14. And I would notice little things. Because the Space Marine players who I knew, they'd buy their tactical Marine box, right? And it
Yeah.
would come with the missile launcher and the heavy bolter,
Obviously.
which
Yeah.
wouldn't really, they caused more emotional damage than actual real damage to my army. But I had a Chaos Dreadnought, the big metal one.
Yeah.
Um, and it had a plasma gun on it. And this is like second or third edition, I can't remember now. But the plasma gun seemed to kill loads of Space Marines, whereas the heavy bolters seemed to just tickle them. And I thought, what if I bought more plasma guns? What would happen then? Because all I'm doing is fighting Space Marines. So why
Mm.
not bring the guns that kill them? And it became the kind of teacher's pet weapon, really. And I think that was the beginning, the dark beginnings of this is good in the game. Let's
Yeah.
buy more of this.
Mm.
But yeah, we had lots of really great games. We started from the wall. We ended up playing those, and then I had a long break. I moved to London, but about when I was about 17, 18, I would go on big nerdy stories to my partner, and I would tell her all about the Primarchs and stuff like that. And about this time, the Horus Heresy book started to come out,
Yeah.
and she would read it as well, and she was like super into it too. And she bought me another Chaos Dreadnought because I'd lost mine. All my old models, except a few,
Oh.
were gone,
Mm.
and a few Chaos Space Marines. So about 2005, I kind of cobbled them together, um, played one game with the staff at Games Workshop, and then left it again
Oh.
until, I mean, I didn't then paint, I think, until about 2018.
Okay. Yeah.
But in the thing is, I never lost my love of Warhammer and the Heresy and the Word
Mm.
Bearers. So there was a host of amazing computer games that I would always be involved in, like Dawn of War 1, Dawn of War 2. There was Battlefleet Gothic, which came out with an amazing Word Bearers expansion, which
Mhm.
is just the best Word Bearers, I think, computer game out there still. But the original Space Marine game as well, and I would always make it the Word Bearers. I played multiplayer playing the Word Bearers. Um, and then about 2018, I came back into it. I have a big unabiding love of the undead as well.
Yeah.
And I got those because they were kind of simple, right? So I got some skeletons, I splashed shade on them, and then left them for a bit, and then came back again in 2021 to the same undead. Um, and that was when I began to take painting a little bit more seriously
Yeah.
because I think it was the post-COVID boom, right? Of
Mm.
all of these hobby content creators.
Yeah.
And what was before mystical magic knowledge about painting now became democratized and free for everyone. So I would watch Vince Venturella, who's
Mm.
been a huge, I think,
Oh
impact
yeah.
on the way I paint.
Mm.
Very kind of artsy, very color based. And I guess that's where the teal came from
Mm.
for the Shadows of the Word Bearers. A host of other things. And as I progressed, I went literally from my first squad of skeletons of just, their screaming skull. I've put
Yeah.
Agrax shade on them.
Mm.
And then I started painting like Manfred and all these big characters. And I would watch
Mm.
videos and I paid close attention to them. And I just went step by step until I then started going to my first gaming events. So I got involved in the Age of Sigmar competitive scene, went to a
Okay.
tournament,
Hmm.
loved that. Loved that kind of marriage of, I guess, I mean, ever since the beginning with the plasma guns, right? For me, it's the hobby is so intertwined. Like no part is really much more important to me. I mean, probably painting is still the most important, but
Hmm.
I want to try and tick as many boxes as I can. Have I painted it really well? Is it good in the game? Does it match the lore? All
Hmm.
these things have to be in balance for me, and I
Hmm.
get so much reward from all of these different things. Um, but yeah, to fast forward along with the story, I then moved to Slanesh, which I posted recently on my
Yeah.
Instagram, and that's when, I really started going, this army will be, every model will be amazing. I will put so much hours and effort into it. But as with all such projects, you do end up burning out, and I
Hmm.
didn't have an event to kind of keep it going.
Yeah, to get the motivation. Mm.
Yeah, the motivation's super important in a hobby where nothing's really spurring you on
Mm.
except your own love of it and whatever you're getting of it. But then I guess importantly, as we reach the last stage, get into the heresy, I popped. And again, by the way, I was always loving the heresy. I got every single heresy book on the way, the Lorgar books and so on. But I
Mm.
never quite went back to 40K to
Okay.
play the word bearers.
Mm.
And that was because, okay, this is, I guess, there's a lot of details here, and I don't want to go on too much, but the way that the 40K aesthetic changed,
Oh, yeah. Mm.
no longer for me reflected the direction where the word bearers were going in a sense. So, I mean, let it be clear. Obviously, I got into the hobby because these guys look cool. The guys on the screen with their horns and their skulls and their spikes. But also since then, they'd be releasing the Index Astartes things about the heresy. The word bearers were grey. I was like, whoa, they were
Mm.
grey. That's amazing. They would start saying this. They used to wear Mark IV back in the day. They would wear Mark V. They looked a little bit different. And I really wanted the 40K models, the Chaos Space Marine models, to reflect that.
Yeah.
I wanted to show their roots. I wanted to see Mark III helmets in there, Mark II helmets, but they never really, and they still don't have that. They're all very,
Yeah. No.
I guess, this kind of generic evil look, which,
Uh,
yes, is very much in keeping with what they used to look like. But
yeah,
for
and
me, I really
they don't
wanted
have
to, yeah, go on.
specific models in the 40K range, right?
Well, the word bearers.
Yeah, they don't have
No,
like specific, yeah, Marines or whatever. Yeah.
no, they don't. But I mean, there's some rumors on the horizon that Lorgar is going to be the next 40K Primarch. And that
Mm.
I'm interested in because I'm
Oh.
very interested to think what is Games Workshop's artistic direction
Mm.
regarding the word bearers as we move into 2025.
Well, I mean, I don't want to get my hopes up because seeing what they did, like for the Lion on or Gilliman, or I mean the
Mm.
40K ones, I don't well, it's just me. I don't like those models. It's too cartoony for me. Like,
Well, this is, I guess, why people play the heresy for the most part, right? We usually, it's somebody who loved 40K back in the day
mm,
and
yeah,
kind of
that's
wants a bit of a different artistic direction. Like
mm,
lots of people, I mean, I don't really mind 40K, um, but heresy, it represents that, that extra level of detail. Like if you love the word bearers, you play heresy because they have their special rules, they have
yeah,
their
exactly.
special models. Look
Yes.
at the difference between the word bearers in the heresy and 40K. Like
Mhm,
there's no competition.
mhm, absolutely. But uh, on top of that, it's also about the atmosphere, you know.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know much about the 40K lore, but I have the feeling that for the Space Marine, they had the primaries, they had the returning Primarchs, etc. But the
Mm.
Chaos Space Marines, they are struggling, still ailing from the Eye of Terror since
Yeah.
M.
For 10,000 years, they have been
Yeah,
struggling.
and
Yeah.
it's a bit like all the same all over again. It's not very interesting, but
Um, Yeah, I mean, I've recently actually listened to. There's a trilogy about Roboute Guilliman coming back, and he fights Mortarion.
mm,
Partly because I've been into the Death Guard, so I've been consuming as much Death Guard stuff as possible. It's super motivating, by the way. If you want to get into an army, really just listen to audiobooks, read
yeah,
about it. But they are really now, they're starting to meld a lot of heresy stuff into 40K.
okay,
Because I would notice, like, in the earlier books about the word bearers, like there's this trilogy, I think the first word bearers trilogy, I don't know if you've read it, but it's about Marduk, this guy, this word
Mhm.
bearer, and it was all very generic, evil. Ha ha ha! I'm going to sacrifice the planet and so on. But you could see the progress until we got to Aaron Dembski Bowden of you'd start mentioning the heresy a bit more instead of just dark gods this, dark gods that. And then they would start mentioning the Legion. And then they would start mentioning the battles in the heresy. And they would build up this connection to who they used to be, which for me is super important. Like
Yeah.
it's so important to me, and we'll get into this in a bit, that the word bearers and so important that the word bearers are not just, and I think for any villain, right? Not just this insane dark god worshipping evil character to be
Mm.
cut down by the thousands by the good guys, but they have their own aims, they have their own ambitions,
Mm.
and they are first and foremost Space Marines. They are Astartes. They are the elite constructed by the Emperor to be the best at martial prowess.
Mm.
And they are not just that, but they are this and more. They have the blessings of the Dark Gods. They have the training, they have the skill, they have the discipline, but they also have blessings of eldritch powers who give
Mm.
them, Slanesh, Khorne, Tzeentch, and Nurgle. They're bitter. They've had 10,000 years of practice at this. They're very good. They are an extreme martial threat and will not just walk into your gun line in a line,
Mm.
chanting prayers to the Dark Gods, unless it makes them win. So
Yeah.
it's kind of you do have to balance this with the word bearers, like because some authors do get caught in the trap. Like Dan Abnett sometimes did this. Where the word bearers would just take out their knives and not shoot the Ultramarines, and then they would all die to sacrifice for the gods and so on. But whereas on the other hand, you might have someone like Aaron Dembski Bowden
Mm.
saying that the word bearers see themselves as the angels of chaos, they are the shepherds of demons, they are above them in the hierarchy.
Mm.
And you see this a little bit more in some of the later novels too, where I think there's an amazing end of A Siege of Terror, one of the novels, where there's a Kargos, the World Eater's apothecary is
Mm.
with this charismatic word bearer's chaplain. And well, although most of the word bearers legion is not on Terra, and if they were, they would have won.
Mm.
Um, the he asks the word bearer, "Where are all your guys? Where are the word bearer Marines?" And the chaplain just kind of smiles and says, "We know we're in for the long game. We are not going to waste our elite on
Mm.
this. So they're back there. There's like one word bearer per thousand cultists shepherding them forward because they're
Mm.
saving their strength. And it's like this, I guess, marriage of tactical prowess and strategic long-term planning that made the word bearers. I mean, we'll see when the law comes out, but I think they're still one of the biggest legions of chaos, other than the
Yeah.
Black Legion,
Mm.
because they weren't there on Terra. They didn't take those massive casualties, and they've been remained coherent as a legion. They have an aim. It's all
Mm.
what they wanted to happen. They haven't fragmented into different war bands like the Night Lords or the Alpha Legion. Like they're following the same cause that they followed since they were shouting their blessings to the dark gods in front of the very gates of Terra. And that's what I love about them.
Mm.
Well, one of many things.
Oh, I mean, it's heartwarming to hear you talk about the world bearers. I mean, yeah, no, you should be one of their remembrancers. You could be one.
Well, maybe one day, but I think hope it's a bit of a word bearers thing, right? We talk, we convert. I'm a teacher by trade, so it's kind of what I do on a day-to-day basis. Try to convince people to do things they don't necessarily want to do.
I love that. Um, Talking about the hobby in a more broad fashion, besides being an easy way to spend all your money,
Mhm.
does the hobby do anything good for you besides just admiring your collection of word bearers and Slaneshi?
Yeah. It does a huge thing for you, and I think it's now becoming a big thing. I think I've seen on Instagram a lot of um, mental health people are talking about
Yeah.
Warhammer as a huge way
Mm.
to help with mental health. And I know many people who got into it to help with that, to provide a moment in peace in a very kind of chaotic, no pun intended, world. Um, I think in an increasingly digitized world as well, where it's all versus emails, it's all over Zoom, like we are
Mm.
now.
Mm.
Uh, our games are now on the cloud. Um, we less and less have physical things that are ours.
Mm.
And painting and creating is such a fundamental thing to the human psyche, I think, that just by doing it, we're tapping into something
Yeah.
like that we've kind of lost.
Mm.
And for lots of people, including me, to make something and paint something that's physical, that you can hold in your hand, provides a level of relaxation and satisfaction that I think few else things do. Almost like it's like you are leaving something behind in a
Mm.
way.
Yeah.
You can touch it and you can feel it. And I think I really hit me the most when it was about 2018. I was painting and I had my little Apple Watch on. It was telling me my heart rate and all of that. And my heart rate was the lowest it had ever been. Even when I woke up in the morning or was falling asleep, it was lower while painting. And I was actually being quite intense. I was like, oh, I've got to get these eyes or whatever. But it was still so calm and relaxed. And since then, as my career's kind of got a little bit more uh, involved, managing a little school and stuff like that. It's a lot of stress and things that you need to do. It's become, I think, one of the only things where there isn't a feeling of like life distraction. There is just the goal, right? There's you, your model, and there's the paint you need to put on it.
Mm.
And it reduces everything into focus, you and this one thing. And that's hugely relaxing.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the main target, the hobby as a relaxing activity, but also what you said, and I think it's very important in the world that we have today. It's once you finish the mini, whether it's well, I'm not talking about the quality of the painting or etc. But you
Yeah,
finish it and you have something that will last in the time that you can put on a shelf or in a display cabinet or in a box anywhere. But
absolutely.
it will be there the next time you will look at it. And so it's not like I don't know, a lots of people play video games for relaxing, but
Yeah.
once you turn off the PlayStation, there's
Mm.
nothing physical left,
No.
actually. It's maybe you
And
have a game save somewhere in the cloud, but that's it. And yeah, I think that yeah, painting miniatures or uh, word bearers is yeah quite very satisfying because yeah once you're done you have something in your hand. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and as a huge gamer myself, I've led guilds in World of Warcraft, MMOs. I've played more than my fair share of video games, so many hours. I think as more painting got involved in my life, the less dopamine I would get from these video games. And I
Mhm.
think for me now, gaming has become primarily social. I made a lot of fantastic friends,
Mhm.
extremely close friends, throughout my years of being a guild leader and so on. And I will more or less play games just to keep contact with them. But I think if I'm ever having time to sit down by myself, I won't load up Total War. I will
Yeah.
paint or do something else because I don't know, maybe it's age, maybe it's just again like we talked about, that lost something physical, but
Mhm.
it does something that nothing else does, I would say.
Yeah. But actually, I think that growing up is also a part of the answer because, well, I mean, personally, I'm a bit older than you. Well, quite a bit, and
I
I've been
wouldn't guess.
no, but I've been playing video. I had my first Nintendo Entertainment System when I was
Mm.
6, and it was in 1986.
Oh wow.
Then, yeah, so I've been video gaming. Wow, I mean, for 30 years, and despite all the technological progress, despite all the new memory capacity of the new game systems,
Mm.
well, actually, people who really know how to tell a good story, how to make a good game, I think they got lost with the technology. I mean, for me, I don't need something that is like sparkling or exploding in every corner of the screen. I just need
Mm.
something that tells me a story that I want to live, that I want to know how it ends. And
Yeah.
actually, that's what I found in the hobby, because actually there's the story, you can read the books, etc., etc., but you can tell your own story. too.
Mm.
Whenever you
Yeah,
paint, whenever you play the game, whenever you are going to kit bash a model, whenever you are going to make a slight change to a color scheme. And I think that with the hobby, you can take control over, I mean, your passion. And yeah,
that's an amazing point. Because I want to mention here just quickly about how, the stories that we make, because the stories, we want our stories to last as well.
yeah,
Because when you make a story on a computer game, as you said, you turn off the computer, that story's over.
mm,
Um, but these stories will last. These word bearers, when I'm gone, will probably still be there.
mm,
Um, and I think this is it's a bit of a broader point, but we make stories, but we make them within the confines of Warhammer, and
yeah,
then within a further smaller confine of the Heresy, and
mm,
then within a smaller confine of the Legion that you pick. It's not like I think we sit there with a blank piece of paper and say, this is my story. No,
no,
we have rules we need to follow. And it's the rules and it's the law and it's the story that gives it a sense of meaning,
mm,
a sense of worth, because anybody can paint whatever Space Marine chapter you want to paint. And
mm,
I would never paint a custom Space Marine chapter, like not never.
mm,
Um, I think your creativity is much more put to the challenge when you work within limits.
mm,
Um, so, for example, my word bearers are red. They have these shoulder pads. They have black on them because that's what they had in the word bearers. But
mm,
how do you take that severe limitation and make it your own? And that is a huge part, I
mm.
think, of what makes this hobby really interesting.
Exactly. And I mean, and I mean, I love Instagram amongst other stuff, but Instagram being my main media that I watch daily. The degree of diversity in creativity that you can find about any legion is
Mm,
really awesome because, wow, it's, I mean, well, we're going to have a proper look at some more recent models, but the sense of color that you put into your wall bearers is amazing. Then you have some other people, they will go like maybe with less contrast, but maybe a more grim, dark approach.
yeah,
And everything is amazing. I mean, I
yeah,
love them all, but it's what I really like and enjoy above all. It's yeah, embracing this diversity of within the creativity, within the limits, as you said, and trying to stick to the main lines of the story that we were given. It's
yeah.
yeah, it's
And
amazing.
that's the thing, isn't it? It seems so restrictive, but actually, if you say, look at my
Uh,
word bearers and uh, somebody else's, and Agile Tile's word bearers and your word bearers, like they're all kind of the same color technically, right? But you obviously know which is which. You
yeah,
can't help
no,
but even if you're singing from the same hymn sheet, your voice is different. It becomes yours.
yeah, that's a good example, absolutely. But well, I mean, I think you told it earlier, but what do you like the most in the hobby?
I like. There's lots of things I like in the hobby. What do I like the most? Oh,
Putting
I
plasma
like
guns to in
plasmering people's marines off the table, sure. Um, I think I like the feeling that a vision comes to life, and that vision comes to life in different ways. I've planned out the army. It looks a certain way that I envisioned it. I want the army to do well, and to have, I guess, everything comes together. I've got the law. I've given myself certain restriction based on what I feel is the flavor of, say, my specific chapter of the word bearers,
Mm,
a seventh chapter, ninth company. And it's come together and it's like maybe won a battle. It's maybe got a painting award. It's maybe like being commented on Instagram and so on. But I like looking at things in retrospect and like, for example, these models here
mm,
are one of the steps furthest in the past. When I look at my tactical Marines that, just kind of die every game, I remember painting them. I remember building them. And I remember when they took that objective off of Equips to Nerds, as you mentioned earlier, before. It's all a big story. And what I like most is it's such a complex, multi-layered story that I think people outside of the hobby obviously would find it very difficult to understand.
Mm.
It just looks like a bunch of grown men playing toy soldiers and painting, right? And in a way it is, but in also a way it's a reflection of so much more.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, so kind of cheating there. Like, it wasn't my one thing. It was I cheatedly brought a few things together, but
yeah, you did
yeah,
it well. You cheated like the
I
world bearer
cheated
way.
well.
So yeah,
A
it was okay.
little bit of Erebus there.
Um, Now, what do you dislike the most in the hobby, if there's something that you dislike?
Oh, there is. What I dislike most about the hobby is the health concerns. And the better you get, okay, the better you get, the more time and nerdy you get into this hobby. You start to move away, don't you, from the Citadel acrylics
Yeah.
and the paintbrush. And you begin to get paints like this. Payne's Gray. And on this Payne's Gray, it says, this product contains a chemical known to the state of California to cause cancer. So if you airbrush this, I mean, God knows what will happen. There's lead in it, for example. I've never used that paint because I thought if I even touch the model, am I going to get cancer? Um, is it around here? I wonder.
You have
No,
to
but I
save it.
haven't.
You have to save it for the death guard, you know?
So, yeah, I mean, there's literally, if you touch my death guard, like you might actually physically die. And that's
Yeah.
how, that's how, convinced I am about the hobby. But I have to wear a gas mask to airbrush
Mm.
indoors. Don't even get me started on resin.
Oh, yeah.
Um, like I've just recently painted, and you'll see on the Instagram, like two big resin Morbus bombards, who, ironically enough, are all about toxins and chemicals, and like I can almost feel my life force slipping away as I sanded them, and I'm potentially
Yeah.
breathing in the chemicals. And
Uh,
working with resin probably is the worst thing.
uh, and
Absolutely.
that's a good point. And I have to say, I was very surprised because I saw maybe those are old videos, but I saw videos from I can't remember his name. One of the a great painter that used to work at Games Workshop and is casually working on a resin kit
Mm.
without a mask, without anything,
Yeah,
indoor, etc. And I was kind of shocked because, I mean, well, you have to tell people that that resin is toxic. If you are going to cut, if you are going to sand it, you have to
yeah.
wear a mask. You have to do that in outside. It's
Got to
even
vacuum clean the room and
and
ventilate.
yeah, and yeah, don't go sending resin kits just in your living room.
And I'm actually weirdly, you wouldn't think about it, in a lot of ways, I'm a lazy painter. I leave my paint strewn everywhere. My paintbrushes are left around. And one of the things I think some of us painters do, we void our brushes, right? So to get that fine tip,
Mm,
we shape it with our mouths. But please don't do that when you use certain paints.
yeah,
Vince Venturella, one of my hobby heroes, I once saw a video of him and he was using cadmium orange, which has cadmium in it,
yeah.
carcinogenic. And he was voiding, and I thought, I mean, there is almost a word bearer zealotry to it. I'm sacrificing my very life force for the art here, but good Lord.
Yeah.
My
Yeah,
word.
yeah, I hear you about that. Yeah, and actually, that's something that isn't, well, in my opinion, i- it's not advertised enough that some of those acrylic paints are okay. You won't,
Yeah,
get.
they're okay. Yeah,
But even like if you are airbrushing metallics, if you are airbrushing primers or
yeah,
that kind of stuff, yeah, just wear a mask and open the window, like,
yeah,
quite. I went for a game no, this week. It was on Thursday. We are in Paris. There's a cafe when you can book a table to play, and they have a painting space at the on the first floor. And there was this guy, he was airbrushing in the cafe, no mask, no whatever, no
yeah,
nothing. And
yeah.
I just told the guy, man, just, you know, get a mask or,
Please. Please, for you.
It's and the guy was like, yeah, well, it's acrylics, it's okay. I'm like, nah, come on. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
okay if you
but
put your brush, tip of your brush in it and the brush on the model, but if you are spraying
yeah,
with a thinner and whatever
yeah.
the chemicals you put in that, no, it's not okay. But well,
And and again,
anyway.
I said I'm a lazy painter, but I will sometimes catch myself like I've once forgot to wear my mask while
Nah.
airbrushing,
Mm,
even while varnishing and things like that. Like, how long do you leave your room to ventilate before you do it?
yeah.
So it is a I do wonder how much minutes of my life I've lost with my contact with resin and so on. I don't want to know. Um, but I guess it
Mm,
goes to show how passionate people are about the hobby that
mm,
literally physical safety kind of you
mm.
will be a little bit lax in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely my least favorite thing. The
Yeah.
it's physical. There's physical threats, quite literally.
Yeah, and I guess the cataphractii that is on the on the slide is pointing the finger at this health issue. Uh, I think.
And may I
Uh,
mention that he's pointing a finger with uh, fluorescent pink fingers, which are themselves have dangerous chemicals.
yeah. No, so he is a proper word bearer. Um, do I have to ask what is your favorite legion?
Uh, this is where I say Ultramarines, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's word bearers, but I love a lot of the traitor legions,
Mhm.
huge amount. Death Guard, I love Sons of Horus hugely, and I was almost tempted to start them instead of
Oh
word
yeah.
bearers because I was always waiting for the time my painting was ready before I did my Dream Legion, the word bearers, and that's
Mhm.
part of the reason why I held off for so long. I didn't want to make them until I was good enough, I
Yeah.
guess.
Mm.
But eventually, events, I bought a Praetor and one thing led to another, and I was kind of rushed into it. But no regrets, no regrets. I love the Alpha Legion. I think I love all of the Traitor Legions, maybe except the Thousand Sons, because they're
Right.
not really a Traitor Legion in some ways. Look, if you're going to go to the cause, guys, commit to it. Come on.
Yeah.
Um,
I see what you mean about them. Yeah. Mm.
but I mean, I've tried, and I've tried so hard to have a loyalist legion that I like. Um, for practical reasons too. I'd like to have a little loyalist army so I can play with friends if they come around or
Mhm.
get my son with and so on. It would make a lot of sense to maybe have some Ultramarines. I've got some Ultramarine heads on my Wordbearer bases for the law. Um, but I just, every time I try, it's kind of like there's loads of loyalist players out there. They love their legions and so on, but it feels to me like half the story with a loyalist legion because traitors are Space Marines too, but they have this extra layer of bitterness, story, tragedy to them, a
Mm.
depth to them that I don't resonate with the loyalist legions. Like, I mean, take for example, I was thinking about the Dark Angels. Like, why are they loyal?
Yeah,
Is it
but
ever said?
no.
They just happen to be.
Mm.
Um, And I would love actually for some future novels to really kind of dive into a bit more of a confusion during the heresy. Like, why are the Dark Angels loyal? Why did the Ultramarines remain loyal? Because there's a big argument to be made that the Ultramarines, they were leading the way with Ultramar, and the
Mm.
rest of the Imperium was lagging behind as a bunch of warmongering simpletons. Like, why don't they know best? But
Mm.
it's never really touched on. So I think it's kind of almost enough that they're the good ones. It's enough that they're loyal to the Emperor and we don't need to explain anymore.
Mm.
I think it would benefit them and it'd be a lot more interesting if they did.
Yeah. And I have to say that the Dark Angel books are one of the
Oh, terrible.
yeah, that I have.
Terrible.
Well, actually, I read the first one and I stopped reading the second one. And
Yeah,
yeah, after the reading, I don't know, 200 pages, it was too much for me. Yeah, they
yeah.
are really bad. But
They're terrible. But just kind of refer back to what you were saying about the Webbears are lucky, right? Because we got Aaron Dembski
yeah.
Bowden.
Mm.
Because he came in, didn't he? And he kind of took these legions that nobody really knew about. Like the Night Lords was his first one.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they were kind of given this very Aaron Dembski Bowden emotional tragedy to them. And he very much has his way of writing, doesn't he, Aaron Dembski Bowden? And he brings that like emotional weight to the
Yeah.
word bearers as well, which I think sometimes, he overdoes a little bit, but that doesn't stop him being my favorite author in the Heresy. He still is. Um, but absolutely, like whenever he came along at this moment, I think in Warhammer's lore and said, we're going to take Chaos Space Marines and now we're going to add depth to them. And it
Mm.
was one of the best moments, I think, in Warhammer history when he did that. Because now we have this depth and this interest and this tragedy behind legions, which before were just, I guess, you know,
Yeah,
enemies, stormtroopers,
yeah, Chaos Space
just
Marine.
chaos
Yeah,
space marines,
yeah.
TM.
Spreading, yeah, they were spreading chaos, VN. But yeah, absolutely. And what he did introducing the Syrian character also was, I think, very um skill. Well, it's a skillful move as a writer because it it gives a lot of perspective. Well, with Argental, but with also with the rest of the Space Marines and the people of Colchis and formerly Monarchia. But yeah, no, actually, well, yes, he's a
Cyrene is a fantastic character.
siren.
But I mean, this was, I mean, I think it's pronounced Serene by, I don't know
Ah,
the
okay.
pronunciation. I just read it as Cyrene, but it might be different. Who knows? But this was started, wasn't it, in the Heresy, particularly with Dan Abner, who would
Mm,
introduce human characters to give
yeah.
that perspective. Done very well in Legion as well, where
Mm,
it's
yeah.
predominantly from the perspective of humans, because then you can start describing the transhumans are moving faster than you could see, the transhuman
Mm,
dread, all of that, and it gives
yeah.
huge weight
Mm,
to Space Marines.
yeah.
And Aaron Dembski-Bowden did the same. And I think one of his things he likes to do is very much introduce a kind of almost sidekick girlfriend character in his
Yeah.
stories. Like um, there's the Night Lord's book, there's a lady in it who is basically the siren of that.
Mm,
There is in the Black Legion books he writes, there's a kind of dark Eldar lady who's with him there to provide a
mm,
perspective, but also I think there's a little bit of tension between these Astartes and these dainty
mhm.
ladies who, you know, are there too.
And do you have a favorite character from the Heresy?
Mm, I find it very difficult to say this is my favorite thing. Um, I'm a bit more like Lorgari big picture here. But Latara, I love Latara.
Oh,
Um,
yes. Oh, she's so good. Yes.
Latara, I love characters that there's obviously a big tragic element. Kargos, the
Like
worldy
the
is
World Eater. Yeah.
apothecary.
Hmm.
Um, I kind of try and not pick the main characters, I guess. There's
Hmm.
still a bit of a 13-year-old edginess to me where it's like I can't just pick Argel Tal, right? Um, who else? It's difficult, but probably Latara. Like whenever she comes on the page, I'm paying attention because
Hmm.
she's just really cool.
Oh, yeah. Oh, she's badass. Like, yeah, she's and do you happen to know where his official model is?
No, they kind of released Angron and Latara and then just put it down the memory hole, right? Who knows? Who knows where
Ah,
they are?
okay.
We've got the
Oh,
rules for them too, but where are the models? What's happening?
no, I was just asking just in case, you know.
Just in case I know. No,
Yeah.
the warp has not whispered to me dark
Yeah.
truths.
And is there a specific piece of lore, a battle maybe, or just a quick scene that you would quote from the heresy?
Oh, wow. You know what? It would have benefited me to think about this question beforehand, wouldn't it? I didn't do my homework, I'm sorry. Um, there's a moment in No Fear
Hmm.
where the word bearers reveal themselves to betray the Ultramarines.
Hmm.
And Dan Abner does a very good job here of he has a word bearer, one of the few word bearers who was friends with an Ultramarine from
Yeah,
times before, if
yeah,
you remember that.
yeah, yeah. He's
And
in a spaceship with his ultramarine
yeah,
friend.
with
Yeah,
it, and they're having wine, right? They're having wine. They're out of glasses.
yeah.
Very strange thing. Um, but he's chosen to be the first shot against the
Mhm.
Ultramarines in the betrayal because of the emotional weight of that betrayal.
Yeah,
Be-
yeah.
Because things like betrayal and emotions and significance, the word bearers know hold power. So a
Mm.
friend betraying a friend will literally just cause demons to come from the warp. There's a point to it, and that's what I love about them. But yeah, he shoots him, and then it all goes into slow motion, and the glass slowly falls, and it's like it's everything is slowing down because the the sheer weight of the heresy is now happening. Like
Mm.
this is such a fundamental crushing moment that changes everything, and time literally slows down as the first shot is fired. I thought that was beautifully written.
Yeah, that's a good one. And I think he shot him his plasma pistol right in the face.
Yeah,
Something like that. Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
And there's so many other bits of lore as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So many other
Mm.
bits.
And so back to talking about painting and an army
Yeah.
project. Do you have a specific intellectual process, yeah, before getting into a new army?
Um, an intellectual process, no. The time has to be right. I almost have to wait for the stars to align. Like the planets will form a certain thing, and my dopamine receptors will say, now is the time for Death Guard, or now is the time to paint a a Kratos. So, for example,
Mhm.
my Kratos, I was on the plane home from Sweden, and my headphones weren't working, and I had to sit there in the dark, and I thought to myself, Kratos, and my army kind of needs a centerpiece, and it's going to be a Kratos. And I spent about, I think, an hour and a half in my head thinking about the Kratos because it wasn't very good last edition. It's incredibly good now.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and I thought, I'm going to no retreat soon. Wouldn't it be great to have a Kratos, which isn't great, but just has everything? It's going to have a Decurion on the top pointing, and I'm going to use the special traitor banner guy for that, and it's going to have script everywhere. And I thought about it, and it just materialized into it was a dream, it was a focus. And I came home and I immediately bought the Kratos, and that was my focus. So I kind of wait for visions to appear to me, and I follow that vision.
Okay, so you are definitely a true word bearer, and that's yeah.
It's almost like I'm trying too hard to be, but no, genuinely. And then I guess the intellectual process comes, which will be, and again, this is bringing all the elements of the hobby together.
Hmm.
It's about what models do I want to paint, but is it going to be also good in the game? Will it be
Hmm.
coherent with my army's idea of what it needs to be? Um, how would it be something I enjoy painting? Um, and all these things come together. And will it be part of my army? If I've got 2,000, 3,000 points, would it
Hmm.
fit? And once all these stars are aligned, I go, now I'm going to put the
Yeah.
God knows how many hours into this model because I want every reward. I want the reward of the model. I want the reward of it being in my army, and I want the reward of it doing well in the game.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because actually I think you are the first one telling me about all those combined elements.
Yeah.
Often people are like, yeah, well, everyone has a different process to get into a new army project, but the combination of what I want to paint, what I want the theme for my army, and how how it will perform on the tabletop. That's the first time that I am hearing that, and actually, that's exactly all I do. And so
Yep.
because for me, I'm always drafting lists, you know. Just I
Yeah.
have my new recruit app is full of lists, like very full. Zone Mortalis list, 3K
Yep.
points list, 5K points list, yeah, you know. And then hop, the pieces when they are all together, the plan starts to be in motion. Uh, Before we get to the next slide, just a quick word for about this cataphracti. How do you say that in English? Cataphracti, cataphracti?
Um, it has a proper Greek pronunciation, but
Yeah,
most people tend to say cataphracti,
yeah,
but cataphracti as well.
yeah. Okay, so well,
Yeah.
in French we say cataphracti. So yeah, but there's one. Well, actually, there are a lot of things that I love about this model, but the one thing that I really love is what you did with the what is usually leather stripes under the shoulders,
Mhm.
and it's almost black, but not totally. Maybe I can't really tell if it's more blue or green black,
Yep.
but the contrast with the black elements
Mhm.
is very, very good. And it's very surprising because those two colors are very similar, but the contrast is amazing. So,
This is a big one, right? Because I have a friend who is quite into art, and it was suggested to me that you need to have blue in it. And I said, why? I said, well, blue contrasts to red is the opposite end of the color spectrum.
mhm.
So when I say put some blue on the model, it doesn't mean get your ultramarines blue out. It
Yeah.
means add some blue to the black. Take your
Mhm.
contrasting color and add elements of it in the secondary elements. So the black, it would look ridiculous if it was red and blue,
No, yeah.
but it's meant to be red and black. But how can you cheekily sneak in that contrasting color there?
Mm,
And using blue as a highlight is, it makes it cold versus the red, which is warm.
mm.
And it's basically using the heavy metal standard recipe of
Oh, okay.
Thunderhawk blue, although I've kind of gone to Payne's Grey now a little bit.
Mm,
But following that, but just kind of going a little bit more than they do, using the edge highlight color to shape the volumes a little bit. So it just
mm.
makes it more
Yeah.
interesting, I would say.
Mm. So there's that, and there's the gold trim that you used
Yep.
versus what we see usually dark steel,
Yes.
almost black steel
Yes.
trim, and it works very well because well the gold versus the black is obviously a classic, and even with the deep red, it works very fine, and actually, I think I don't know if I did that consciously or not, but I think I might have started doing some of my trim in a golden way after seeing that. Yeah, I can't really
Well, the thing is,
remember,
that word bearers have always had some gold trim. Like their
mm,
chaplains tend to
but
wear it, special
yeah.
characters, whatever.
Mm,
I like them being gold because it just looks more religiously resplendent. It has
mm,
this kind of ancient Catholic element of gold Baroque trim.
mm,
And that seemed to be much more befitting with the word bearer's aesthetic than I guess gunmetal grey,
mm. Yeah.
which doesn't really resonate with
Mm,
me in terms of word bearers. Even though that's a silly saying because that's just what the word bearers are. But we did the chapters would have different heraldry and icons, and
yeah.
I just said, you know what, I like this. This will be what the seventh
Done.
chapter has. There we go.
And that's what we were saying just before.
Yeah,
It's your army,
precisely.
your way. Like you do your thing within the general rules of the Legion, and that's very cool. And then one last thing about this model, it's when you paint deep red, and actually I started painting road bearers, and I'm not considering myself as a good painter today, but 2 years back I wasn't a good painter at all. But
Mm.
the thing that I didn't over that I didn't overthink is that I like highlighting red, or actually painting red and highlighting red is very difficult because
Yes.
either you go like a yeah, almost pink, or either you go the other way, orange maybe,
Ooh.
and or just red or brighter red, and it's very difficult to get it right, or at least to my taste or to your taste. And on this model, you did some highlights. Well, I mean, edge highlights on the upper parts, which is makes the model pop a lot on the gauntlet on the power fist. So what are you using? Is that just your main color and white, etc., or is it more
Well,
pinky?
this hits onto the color red, which is, I think, one of the biggest parts I would think it would be useful from this episode.
Mhm.
So the highlighting.
Yeah.
Um, so this, I think maybe I'm responsible for thinking way too much about red and how it applies to the word bearers. I think it's one of the most important things, as I mentioned, I believe at the start, about what you need to get right about the word
Yeah.
bearers. We all have our version of what we want to do. And I guess in the hobby, there's no really wrong way of doing it.
Mm.
But there's one where we have to kind of hit multiple goals here. It's true to the word bearers. It looks good, and it also looks good on the tabletop because
Mm.
dark red looks shocking under bad light. And in fact, one of the reasons I spent a bit too much money on this painting lamp here is because it specifically said it makes red look better under
Mm.
pictures because it's a princess of a color. It's
Yeah.
very dramatic.
Mm.
It's the color that draws the most eye. We think red, we see danger, we see blood. If there's a tiny bit of red on any model, your eye is drawn to it
Yeah.
straight away. That's why red eye lenses works just so well. But when it becomes the main color, it's just so dominant. And we also have multiple reds, don't we? We have Blood Angels red, we have Word Bearers red. How do you differentiate them? Well, if you're looking at the art books, that's easy. You just make the Word Bearers look more grungy and dark. But that, for some reason, just does not translate on the tabletop.
Mm.
You run into lots of problems immediately. The shadows look boring. The colors look boring. Red, when you add anything to it, changes color rapidly. You
Mm.
add some white to it to get those highlights, it's now pink. You
Mm.
add some orange to it, it's now orange. Now, when I think of word bearers, I do not think of orange. But if you wanted them to look the best you possibly can, you add orange to the word bearers because that will give the most contrast with, say, the blue
Mm.
and the black and so on. And, red with orange looks fantastic. It looks
Yeah.
great. And the Blood Angels have it easy because they can just use orange as their highlight, go all the way up to yellow if they want, and it looks amazing.
Mm.
Word bearers, you have no such luxury. So how do you do it? I looked through many different things. I didn't like the pink. I will never go into the orange. Um, so one of the things I found was fluorescent red. And this goes back to one of the things I dislike about the hobby is if I want to make the model with fluorescence, it's a pain in the bum. Like fluorescents are difficult to work with. They're extremely transparent. But
Mhm.
if you want to keep it within the red spectrum, what I attempted here was just that. So it involves you go up to the red as per normal, as per the guide that I've got on the Insta, and
Mhm.
then you re-highlight everything with white or a bright ivory. Once you edge
Mm.
highlight everything with a bright ivory, you go back over it with a pink fluorescent. You basically glaze over the white highlights, and then after that, you glaze over it again with the red fluorescent and
Yeah.
you've got to like keep going backwards and forwards and work with it. And it takes a long time, but this is about the only way I found a red that pops and looks good and
Mm.
still remains within the red spectrum.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I'm a huge fan of fluo paints, and I never thought about that. But yeah, that's a super great idea and a great advice. Absolutely. Mm.
And I had a conversation very, very quickly with a very good painter,
Mm.
and he told me that the way that he does red as well is more or less the same. If you want to keep it within the red spectrum, paint the area you want to be bright
Mm.
white first, and then go over that with, say, you can use an airbrush or you can just glaze over it. Go red over the white because it's such a transparent paint. That will make it keep within the red spectrum. And
Mm.
that's probably the way to go with the word bearers.
Yeah,
But it's a bit of a pain.
I'm definitely going to try that. Yeah. We were speaking about the Kratos. Yeah,
And here he is.
this is it. With a multi-melta on top. I love this.
A big, expensive multi-melter.
Yeah, but actually, just a quick word about this model, and a quick word doesn't do it justice at all. But you also added that sculpt trim
Yeah.
on top of the original model, and you already did that on what, a Sicaran or Javelin?
Uh, I did it a little bit on the Javelin, yes. I've just started on the Sakaran, which I need to
Yeah.
go back to.
Mm. This is an amazing detail. I
Well,
mean,
it's the trim is an interesting one because again, another challenge with the word bearers is what are they known for? Chaos. But they're not chaos yet. That's in 40K.
mm,
So how do you make it so they are word bearers and they're obviously super religious and worship the dark gods, but they have not had 10,000 years of Eye of Terror corruption? And you have to, like, for me, the biggest intellectual thing I do with this hobby with the word bearers is they have to be perfectly balanced. Like there has to be a little bit of chaos in there, like a glimpse into their future, but
mm,
it cannot be the full 40K skulls and
yeah.
trim and
Mm,
screaming bodies everywhere. No. So how do you find that right balance? And it could be everything from a chaos backpack, but everything else has to be heresy, or
Mm.
one spiky shoulder. Um, Lean away from the kind of chaos iconography, the chaos stars and so on. Replace it with text and candles.
Mm.
So yeah, that's a big part of it for sure. Maintaining that balance of what do you call it? Um, yeah, where the word are, because they're still a coherent Legion fighting force right now,
Yeah.
and that's what really gets me too. Is that I want my word bearers to be, they are still following company guidelines. They
Mm.
follow Legion structures written in the Principia Bellicosa. They are still an effective combined arms Astartes force. They have not yet fallen into disrepair with 10,000 years of dark god worship and lack of supplies.
Mm. So, we spoke about, when you put together an army, you are trying to do so by making sure they are going to perform quite okay on the tabletop.
Yeah.
What do you enjoy about playing the game of Horus Heresy?
Um, I like painting, and I like painting to a degree that makes me feel satisfied. And what I enjoy about it is the list building phase, because that's something on the way to work, on a boring plane journey. Um, like there's so many variables to this game. Um, it's also so modular as well. Like if you say look at Age of Sigmar or Warhammer 40K,
Mm.
things are block prices, right? 50 points or 100 points, 200 points
Oh,
or
okay.
400 points. In Heresy, like you can change the look of an army with a 5-point searchlight or
Mm.
a 10-point havoc launcher or something like that. And I love the fact that you can kind of the challenge is to make an army that's interesting and performs well for both you and for the opponent. And I challenge any Heresy player to say they do not think about if their army performs well or not. Um, and I think managing, yeah, the painting and making your army good and perform, but still giving your opponent a good time and also paying models that you enjoy, like it's a fine balance.
Yeah. And
Um,
do you would you say that you managed to find that balance with the world bearers?
for me, yes.
Yeah.
I haven't lost to an Ultramarine yet, and that's why the way I want to keep it, you know.
Okay.
Um, Yeah, because there's a kind of also, there's a team, I guess, bias, isn't there? Like, there's
Mm.
the traitors and there's the loyalists.
Yeah.
I love the idea of the traitor team winning. I get more happy about the traitors winning an event, as meaningless as it is, because it's, when I read Saturnine, I was super mad that the traitors just getting their butts kicked the whole book. So when we're at a kind of little narrative event, I'm like, yay, the traitors won. That's my team. Those are my guys who I've been a part of since I was 11 years old.
Mm.
Like, I want them to win. Um, so yeah,
Okay. But actually, I think that with the new editions, traitors can win more easily. The second edition was so obviously loyalist
bias,
oriented
yeah.
with
It
bias.
was.
Yeah.
And this is the
Yeah.
thing about the loyalists, right? Like, what makes them interesting? Oh, it's just so how good they are at everything. The Ultramarines are just so much better at everything. The Dark Angels were the first Legion, and they're so much better at everything. Nobody's better with the bolter than the Imperial
Yeah.
Fists. Nobody's better in close combat than the Space Wolves. And the traitors almost the different design philosophy is their plus sides often come with downsides as well. Like the word bearers, to corrupt your unit, you have to pay 225 points and you get these negatives as well. Whereas with the loyalists, they're just like, just have the tyrannic greatsword. It's great. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. I
But
think.
they're definitely more on the balance side now, even though it's like that the loyalists are still very strong, especially the White Scars.
Yeah. 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 Sure. Is there a strong heresy community on your in your whereabouts? Or do you?
It's a funny one, yes and no. So I live in London, and you'd think that the heresy scene would be booming, and it
Mm.
is. If you go to like there's Bad Moon Cafe,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of people who live in London, but events tend not to happen in London for heresy.
Oh yeah.
Maybe because it's a bit too expensive. So if I want to go to an
Oh,
event, I have to
yeah.
travel to deep in Kent. or into the Midlands. You would think that would just be something around the corner in London, right? But no. And the I've been to two events in Heresy. What's it called again? The No Retreat event, and that involves packing a bag, going on a plane, and going all the way to Gibraltar for 4 days on a big cruise ship to play Heresy. So Heresy events to me have always been very big deals.
Mm.
They involve a lot of money, a lot of cost, a lot of travel. I had to buy a big old, like 300-pound backpack just to carry my dudes on the plane with no small amount of stress. I think the whole plane journey, I was just thinking, what's happening to my boys up there?
Are they
It,
okay? Are they okay? Yeah.
are they okay? It turns
Mm.
out they were. But yeah, there is a very strong heresy community, but you have to travel for it. And that's part of it being a bit of a niche hobby, right?
Yeah.
Although it's much bigger now than it used to be, that's for sure.
Yeah. And do you have plans for some events on in 2026?
So less than before, because there's some big things that I'm doing at the moment in life, and I've been to two back-to-back no retreats, and
Yeah.
they're quite intense. You're traveling,
Mm.
yeah, way all the way. There's all these awards and stuff like that, and I thought, let me take a break from that. So I didn't apply for it this year, and I hope there's a word bearer there who can do the team proud in my absence. But I am still going to. There's a Heresy Hammer event in March, which
Okay.
will probably be one of my 2 or 3 events that I've got planned for this year.
Hmm.
So yeah, I still want to keep it alive because it's a
Yeah.
huge motivator going to events. Huge motivator to, show people the work that you've done, to meet people. And the heresy community is like, it's wonderful. I'm sure you've noticed, but people like Welshie, Quips the Nerd, and so on, they have incredible charisma, a lot of people in this community. They are not, the idea in the 90s of old of
Yeah.
the kind of mouth-breathing basement dweller who has never seen a real human being. Like, there's people now who, you look at them and you think, wow, how come you are so successful, good-looking, and have so much money, and you are playing this game? It's definitely a different world, for sure. And the heresy community, I think, translates this to the extreme. Like, the type of person who goes into this hobby is obviously of a certain type. They like a niche within a niche. They have the money to
Mm.
buy all of these resin models and so on. And they have the time and the commitment to go, I'm not just going to pay models in my spare time.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to make an Instagram. I'm going to pay money to go to events where these things, going to an event by itself is crazy if you think about it. Like, you are taking your models that you've painted and you're letting everybody else judge them, and you could potentially go to an event and lose 5 games in a row.
Oh yeah.
It takes a certain personality to want to do that.
Mm.
So when you meet these people, there's already so much in common. Even for many different personalities, if you're the type of person who wants to build a heresy army and go to an event and see that for public display, there's a lot going on already that brings you together. So
Yeah.
it always makes every heresy event I go to, there's just such interesting and in general just really amazing people.
Mm.
Absolutely amazing people.
Yeah, I have to say it's quite a specific community within the
Yeah.
hobby, and it's a great one. Yeah, actually, and I think mostly uh, it's about just not really caring to win or not. It's
Yeah.
about the love of the universe, the lore, and the love of the hobby. It's what is paramount. Well,
Well,
in my
yeah,
opinion.
I think there's people on a spectrum of that, right? Like, there's somebody I knew you've had him on the show before, Welshie, who's probably just the nicest person I've ever met in my life. He for certain is just playing for the love of the game and for the love of the social
Mm.
aspect. Um, but he still takes care to make sure his army is a challenge. I faced it
Yeah.
last time at No Retreat, and it was no pushover.
Mm.
But it's to me what's so much more important with the heresy community. Yes, people do want to pin and bring their models to do well, and people do want to win, but they want to win and it be fun for the other opponent
Yeah.
as well. And that's the most important thing. They want to win with an army that makes themselves proud and people go, oh, that looks really, really cool.
Mm.
And they want to win where you have a smile on your face at the end and they buy you a beer. And
Yeah.
that's the big difference with, say, I think other more maligned 40K events.
Mm. Yeah. And so if you don't care about losing, but maybe when you were young or maybe not, did you ever throw Metal Mini at a non-sporting opponent or just because you lost a game?
I mean, I'll just say honestly, like, I don't love losing and I like winning, but it's also really important that that never comes at a sacrifice to the other player because it is a social game. You it's and also because it's quite a small community, if you build a reputation of somebody who just wants to win at all costs, you quite quickly notice as that type of
Yeah,
guy.
yeah. Mm,
So if you kind of want to have access to this community full of like amazing, talented people, you have to pay the social price.
mm,
You have to make the game fun for the opponent. So that's also a balance for me as well as somebody who is fairly competitive and does like to win. But I'm part of a niche gaming group where that is actually not the highest priority. You
mm.
have to find your satisfaction in, the social aspect, the painting aspect, and also when you lose that's okay as well. If you've had a good game, that's the
Yeah,
most important thing.
mm, absolutely.
But throwing a metal mini, I mean, no. But, in terms of getting frustrated, like, I think that can be a really good thing. It prompts, I think a lot of my frustrations through the hobby have been, oh, I want to paint better now, or I've
Mm,
seen this person's ridiculous armies. There's some armies out there that just make mine look like absolutely first try toy soldiers. And it prompts you to just go, wow, I need to step up my game.
mm,
And yeah, there's some frustration there, but it's a big motivator to, I guess, improve yourself, which helps other people improve because they see it and they want to improve. And
yeah.
yeah.
No, more directly about your style of painting, uh, how would you describe your painting style?
It's an interesting one. It's a few things. It's a mix between kind of you have the arty element, which I love from say, Vince Venturella and speaking about art and so on. So having blue in the shadows, teal in the shadows, volumes and so on, and making things interesting. But also the other aspect of it is keeping it within the line of the Warhammer universe. So to me,
Mm,
like emulating the heavy metal style to some degree, and I'd say there's a little bit of heavy metal and a little bit of kind of freeform artiness that's
mm,
mashed together. But the most important thing is probably clarity. Um, there's a few
yeah.
non-negotiable aspects of my painting, which
Mm,
is the edge highlights always need to be there because it's a small model and you are viewing it from far away. And some of the most impressive armies I've seen are ones where I'm standing all the way over here
mm,
and the army's all the way over there, and I can see the trim on their shoulder pad, and it just looks fantastic.
mm,
So I kind of want my army to look like it's been captured in high definition as opposed to blurry. And
mm,
in order to do that, really kind of you need to pay attention to the edge highlights and you need to pay attention to the recess shading as well. So every recess, like if we see the bike here, the
yeah.
back with the gold and the red, there's a little black teal line,
Mm,
and that separates the golden element from the red element, and that's non-negotiable. So if you have the red, the black line, the next element, and then there's also a bright edge
mm,
highlight between them, you increase readability.
mm.
So readability and contrast is how I would describe it.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, very appropriate for your minis. Uh, what would you say is the hardest technique that you are using on a regular basis? I mean, hardest in the sense of it's difficult to do.
Um, I think for me, there's a couple. I mean, there's the obvious ones. OSL, non-metallic metal are
Mm,
something that all painters struggle with, um, and they are very difficult from a technical aspect.
mm,
But for me, I think personally, the hardest skill is consistency
yeah.
and effort over time. You are painting a army of things that can look quite similar.
Mm,
People out there who've painted 60 tactical Marines know exactly what I mean.
yeah.
And the hardest skill you can learn is having the patience to make every single one of those tactical Marines be consistent in time, quality, and effort,
Mm,
without, you know, saying, "Oh, I'm just going to ignore this bit or that bit," and so on. Like, I really do want every tactical Marine to look really, really fantastic.
mhm,
But also, I guess, another skill is I said consistency, and my army is a journey. Um, the first word bearer model I painted, I had not thought so much about the red, and they did not have the fluorescent highlights on some of it. And I kind of gone backwards and forth. Some of them are a bit brighter, some of them are a
Mm.
little bit darker, because while you do lose out, I guess when you look at the whole army, maybe there's a little bit of a shift in the tone of red here and there. Maybe there's blue more in this shadow, but I've got a more purple in that one. Um, it's so important, I think, to challenge yourself with every new model that you do. And that's one other aspect of what I love about the hobby is that you're not just creating an army, you're on a journey.
Mm.
And the difference between your first model and the last one is always going to be there, unless you're, I don't know, painting a commission project or something.
Yeah.
Because I I'm quite a chaotic painter. And I'll be like, oh, I'm painting these jet bikes, and now I want to try out fluorescent highlights. And then I'll try my next one. I'm like, no, I want to try no fluorescent highlights now. I want the red to be a little bit more poppy in this one. And by the end of it, I hope I've reached just a place where I'm a better painter. And every squad is a new challenge to me.
Mm.
But the downside of that is lots of people do value consistency across an army. And I would argue partly that no real army out there, everybody looks matching. There's always like different degrees and
Mm.
tones and different walls of battle damage. The red's a bit brighter here because it's
Mm.
less damaged compared to that one, and so on. Um, but to paint a whole army in the exact same way with the exact same process and the exact mixture of red to blue is a little bit boring for me. And unless I was painting a commission for somebody or deliberately going ahead to design an army quickly to a specific
Yeah.
consistent standard,
Mm.
I would often avoid that to a degree.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard. Some people out there do it really good and they love it and they're fantastic at it. I
Mm.
find it really difficult.
Yeah. Well, I think it's pretty cool to have diversity, well, differences, diversity within the same army, because it also tells the story of your painting journey. Like
Yeah,
you started there, now you are there, and in between you did all that. And I think it's pretty interesting to have a testimony of, all the different phases you have been through. But well,
100%. 100%.
what would you improve or try about painting for the next projects, for example?
It's kind of what I'm doing with my Death Guard, but again, you run the risk of burnout with this, but really trying to make every single model
Yeah.
as high quality as possible and
Mhm.
keeping it consistent.
Yeah.
And I think I've done better at the first than I've done on the second because already you can see there's slight different hue changes
Mm.
and some of the gray here and there, but I just can't help myself. So I think improvement in trying to learn, probably more skin. Um,
Mm.
Also, there is the risk with heresy because it's so smooth surfaces, Space Marines. You do you limit yourself a lot to a certain type of model
Mm.
that you paint. And, there's not much fur going on unless you're playing Space Wolves.
Yeah.
There's not many faces going on unless you've got a guy screaming on the back of your jet bike like this poor gentleman here. Um, so I think to improve and try out, and again, like if you want to improve and try out things, you sacrifice consistency to a
Yeah.
degree, right? You have to find a way like, oh, I'm going to paint a head now and I'm going to try out skin, but the
Mm.
arm is the same. So I think improving on consistency is definitely the one.
Okay. And do you have a favorite color to paint, which
I mean,
might, which may be not red?
I won't mention red here because it's probably not even my favorite color to
Yeah.
paint. Red is like a problem child that I've just got very good at managing. Um, but let me think. Purple's down there too. Good God, purple.
Mm.
Um, I think magenta and teal. I
Okay.
love teal is fantastic because you can kind of go anywhere with it. You
Mhm.
can raise the blue tones, you can raise the green tones, and it's just such a beautiful color. So probably teal,
Oh.
absolutely.
Is there a color that you avoid to paint if you
Um,
can replace it with something else or
well, I wouldn't like to paint red on any other army. I do for sure after you paint it for so long. But I think yellows and oranges, they're just incredibly transparent and difficult to work with.
Mhm.
Um, and I haven't really used them very much. So probably, yeah, orange or yellow.
Okay. So, about the hobby projects, so what is next for 2026?
Oh, to finish my Death Guard Siege Battalion. which
Okay.
has brought me really focused on things like dripping goo fluorescent effects, the grittiness, because
Mm.
may not have noticed, but my word bearers aren't super gritty.
No, they are
Um,
pretty much clean. Wow,
yeah.
clean,
And one of the
despite of
reasons
the.
is it's again one of the problems with red, it's really difficult for that battle damage and that dirt. If you can try and imagine, if you will, brown streaks on this dark red, it
Mm,
just does not show
mm,
very well.
mm, mm,
Whereas the Death Guard, every brown streak pops like,
mm.
a bright light. You, the little tiny bit of streaky dirt on a Death Guard with its white, clean armor, same with World Eaters, for example, it's just boom, you get so much bang for your buck with that.
Yeah.
So I would say focusing on this Death Guard detachment and just making it, I guess, my version. And I thought a lot also about like what is the Death Guard grey? The
Mm,
same with what is the Word Bearer's red, because you
mm.
have all the bony Screaming Skull
Yeah.
version, and you can go almost to pure white in the art. So for me, I'm trying to get that balance between grey and white. But after that, probably back to more Word Bearers into grey Word Bearers. Let's try that one out.
Ah, cool.
So
Okay.
some Ashen Circle is probably next on the table.
Yeah.
I really want to play with kind of, and I just said I don't like painting with orange, but orangey flaming
Yeah.
effects with
That
the grey and so on. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, that's a good contrast for them. Yeah. And they are good on the tabletop too. So yeah, I
Oh, they're
would
amazing.
recommend. Yeah.
They're so good. Those flamers. Oof.
Hmm. They are very, very good. And then future painting projects maybe after the Death Guard and more Word Bearers, something else.
Oh, so I have a kind of half finished, and it's on my Instagram as well, but Bellacore, where I think I've spent about 70 hours painting this one model. I really want to do a model where I'm like, this is not for an army. It's not about fitting it into the 3,000 points. It's about pushing myself to the absolute limit.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm doing OSL like flames and coming up from the
Okay.
bottom,
Yeah.
and it's a huge demon, and it's all by brush. Um, and I really want to kind of push that.
Mm-hmm.
Future painting projects, if we go really far in the future, I want to paint a bunch of different things. I think I'm going to get the board game that's coming out called Dark Water. It has a bunch
Yeah.
of really cool fantasy Nurgle things. I'll probably paint that so me and the family can play it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I do want to go back and forth to like really different paint like styles and models, like this one here. This is an Age of Sigmar Ogroid Therodon. And if you
Oh
see
yeah.
what's kind of on this, like it's just full of skin and horns and furs. So incredibly different to what I've been, the kind of dusty, grimy
Mm-hmm.
version of the heresy. Eventually, probably doing as many traitor legions as possible by the end of it. I mean, I want to kind of, if I could, I would paint everything. If I could live forever, I would paint everything.
Even the two lost legions, I think, maybe.
Well, if they're cool. But yeah, even those, if you can drag them from the memory hole that the Emperor
Yeah.
put them in.
Is there a model that you are the most proud of or the most satisfied with?
Um, I think I mentioned this in the previous one on the Instagram, but there's a true a non-metallic metal pain bringer of Slanesh that I did
Mm.
very early almost in my painting journey, and I just pushed myself so much. I had no idea how non-metallic metal worked.
Hmm.
It was all magic to me. Like the idea how metal interacts with lights and bounce lights, they're softer because they're coming from the ground. Where would the highlights even go? And
Hmm.
it prompted me to look at like reference material. Every time I went to the toilet at work, there's this metal bar and it would reflect the light in a different way. And I'd be like, that's how it works. So it's funny how you'll also sit in the car and you'll see a dirty truck in front of you and you're like, that's how streak and grime works. Um, but
Yeah.
maybe that one, I think Bellacore up there, him as well.
Hmm.
Um, I think my Galvor back, the
Yeah.
squad I'm most proud of. I really put a lot into them. Uh, my Wordbearer's Praetor, my Sons of Horus Praetor, my Slanesh Shard Speaker. Um, again, it's so hard for me to pick a favorite one. It really is, but a
But
bunch.
that's cool because it means that you are very happy with your model. So that's for the best. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I'm super happy with all of them, and they're all represent a little historical
Mm.
piece of the puzzle in your journey.
Mm.
Absolutely.
And is there a model that you really don't want to paint ever again?
Cavalry, full stop. Um, for my Soulblight army, I painted Blood Knights, and
Mm.
I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the extra surface area or whatever, but they just take so long.
No.
And the
Mm.
same with my Sky Hunters, the jet bike that was on the previous slide.
Mhm.
They just take so much longer to paint. And often, like, I'm painting the horse's fur again. I'm painting the buckle on the horse. I'm painting the saddle. I'm painting the stirrup. I'm painting the horse's teeth now. It never ends. Um, so yeah, I think cavalry, I would say in general, but I'd probably still go back to that. There isn't a model I would never paint again.
Yeah. And is there a model that you are dreaming to paint, but you didn't get your hands on it yet?
It doesn't exist, but the new Lorgar, I
Ah,
would.
yeah,
I'm
true.
waiting for the time, much as how I waited until I was ready for the word bearers. I am waiting until I'm ready for Lorgar,
For
um,
the right
for the
time.
right time.
Yeah.
There's a beautiful one on, I think there's a 3D print, but he's more or less what I think Lorgar should look like. And I'm
Uh,
tempted by that, but with the rumors about Games
mm,
Workshop releasing a 40K one, we'll see.
yeah. Yeah, I got tired of waiting for a new model, and it was, yeah, I don't know, 1 month ago, 2 months ago, I just kit bashed one with I mixed the Loga kit with the Diamond Brutes,
Yeah.
the Brutes for the Rainstorm, and actually it was very fun. But yeah, I'm still waiting for a new official kit too. And if you could create a non-existing model, if Games Workshop calls you tomorrow and say, "Yeah, Anson,
Mhm.
we go to the studio with us and we will work on a new model." What would it be?
Um, I think a special group of word bearers Terminators.
Oh
I
yeah.
have a I have a printed version of the Tartaros ones, and they're what I imagine. They're super fantastic.
Mm,
Like, I really would love Games Workshop to create an up-to-date, in line with what I expect from what word bearers should look like, which is a very specific way. So who
mm,
knows? But a lovely group of elite word bearers from the heresy era who have just that perfect mix of Baroque ornate religiosity.
mm.
I would absolutely love that.
I think there's a pic from a Vision of Heresy, the book, uh,
Hmm.
with Chaos Terminators that looks a bit like a mix between the old 40K Terminators and
Hmm.
uh, and Cataphract Time, maybe. I think there are three of them on the. I think it's a black and white drawing, and those guys are well with the horns near the
Yeah.
the mouth, and yeah, those guys would be awesome to have as models.
Yeah, we're just waiting on them.
Yeah,
Please give me the Chaos Wordbearer
please.
Terminators. Maybe
Yeah.
they're coming. Who knows?
And yeah, just a quick word for this contemptor. And I really like the what their body upgrade. This one is very,
Yeah,
very cool. And
just the body, sadly. The
yeah,
legs disappeared.
yeah, the Forge World, well, those contemptors were very nice. The specific for every legions, they were very cool. But yeah.
I mean, it's an interesting design choice, isn't it? Like where Games Workshop wants to go with the word bearers here, because there's trim. So it seems like word bearers are about trim, which
Hmm.
is why I did it on my Kratos and so on.
Yeah.
But also there's this like almost industrial Iron Warriors-y bit of metal that's near his shoulder
Mm.
with like it doesn't quite fit what I think the word bearers would have. It's a very interesting design choice that like just this big slab of metal that's almost patchwork put on the dreadnought.
Mm. Yeah, it's interesting, but maybe it's just, a pattern to look like the moon of Colchis or something like that.
There's
Some
probably some spiritual element there, yeah.
yeah.
But it's a wonderful, I think, piece of word bearers
Mm,
design where
mm,
it's that mix of where the word bearers are at and
mm.
where they're going to go.
Yeah. So we are done with the hobby questions.
Mhm.
Now it's time to see if maybe you have some interesting answers for the dark gods. So
That's I'm ready.
would you rather go on a trip in a warp with Erebus or Engram?
My heart says Erebus, my brain says Angron. Um, I think Erebus because provided that he won't kill me, both of them will kill me. But Erebus goes on magical adventures with his special pocket knife, and he goes through the warp, and he goes everywhere, right?
Mm,
He um teleports to the Siege of Terror. He teleports away. He teleports and I'm not going to spoil it, and does terrible things. He goes almost back in time. He meets Erda. Like that's really, really cool.
mm,
And you also wonder about with one of the most powerful people in the heresy.
yeah.
I mean, literally by the Terror, Siege of Terror, he's just speaking and his words are blowing up buildings. Whereas Angron, I feel like it wouldn't be that interesting. He'd be kind of raging in the bottom of his ship, the basement of a ship, and we would attack a planet for no reason, and I'd probably die. Erebus seems a lot more interesting, I would say.
I think I would go the same way. Did you ever wash your brush in your beverage or coffee or whatever? And
Yeah,
then, as you are, seem to be a brush liquor,
brush liquor. Yep,
yeah,
that's me.
that might be the answer might be interesting.
No, I mean I don't enjoy it. It's more like, oh, now I have to remake my coffee again, and that takes even more time out of my painting. But yeah, of course, I'm very, as I've said a few times, very sporadic in my thoughts. I will randomly get distracted by this and that. So yes, I will often dip my brush in my tea or spill my paints or completely forget where I put my cutting tool, only to find it 3 weeks later. So yeah,
Okay. Is there any kind of physical activity or sport that you enjoy to do?
yeah. I mean, until recently, I used to love going to the gym, and there's a weird kind of mix, isn't there, now between the gym and Warhammer as, I
Mm,
guess, mental health tools, particularly for men in Warhammer as well.
mm.
I've never been a huge sporty guy. Um, I guess I was the archetypical nerd in school. Like it was computer games, Dungeons and Dragons, and Warhammer for me. Um, and when it comes to sports, like no, I'd rather play the game myself than watch somebody else play it. I had
Yeah.
a short stint. I've done quite a few martial arts. I liked watching MMA for a little bit, but no, the only team I really want to root for is Team Traitor.
Do you have any favorite food and drink that you like to enjoy?
So my taste in food are incredibly basic. I grew up in the northeast of England, and the best thing I ate was kebabs, a takeaway kebab, a takeaway pizza, a takeaway burger. I have the culinary tastes of an absolute savage, and I will continue to remain so. My idea of a good meal is maybe some meatballs and some veg on the side of it. It's not very exciting.
All right. Yeah, I'm not very familiar with Danish food or etc., but I guess.
Well, I think this part, my love of the simple foods comes from my mum's cooking because my mum is such a gifted uh, chef, cook, whatever you
Right.
call it.
Hmm.
And she makes, I mean, she's coming around for Christmas and she makes the most beautiful Danish Christmas spreads. Like
Ah,
it looks like, I don't know if you've seen Harry Potter, but do you know when he does the magic spell and all the
yeah.
food just turns up? It's like that. And I grew up with this, and I almost felt a sense of embarrassment that my friends, growing up as they did in Redcar, would have their waffles and beans. And my mum would make the most ridiculous, like spaghetti bolognese recipes. And I don't know, it was almost like embarrassing. Like, why is my mum like doing all this? And I got a little bit of a distaste for super complicated foods after that. Like lemon, can I not just have waffles and beans? Why do you have to make lemon couscous with this ridiculous Italian sauce or whatever? I just want to eat waffles.
Yeah. Poor mom.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I was young and foolish back then, and I
Yeah.
very much appreciate my mom's cooking now. I'll just say that. And if you watch your mom, I love it. Don't worry.
Yeah. And do you do anything else while you are hobbying? I mean, besides losing your cutting tool and etc.
I'd just be the most impractical person in the world. Um, yeah, so I mean, it's kind of like you want to keep your hobby time precious. The more you do something else, like I'm learning different languages, and it's really good, obvious, useful time to listen to a podcast in a different
Mhm.
language, or a podcast like from a heresy podcast and so on. Shout outs to Metas Miniatures. But I also just like focusing fully on it because that's, I think, where the most relaxation for me comes. Like some really chill music, lots of songs that I've listened to a million times. Um, but it's just your small getaway, right? But yeah, if you want to be productive, bang on a podcast. If you want it to just be your wind down time from a long day teaching kids, and then you've got your kids of your own and so on, you might want to just do it in silence.
Yeah. Um, so now we have specific questions for the word bearer.
Let's
And
go.
yeah, who better than a Galverback to ask those questions?
I
Uh,
got the back.
yeah. If Erebus drops by and invites you to a surprise party, will you
Ah,
tag along?
yes, because he's of my legion, and whether it's a good idea or a bad idea, I'm loyal to the 17th.
Yeah, I love how you embrace the role playing, you know. Oh, well, maybe it's not role playing at all, but yeah, I know how
I don't
the
know at this point. I don't
yeah.
know at this point. Maybe it's just me being silly and funny. Maybe since I've been into it since I was 11, it's just become an indelible part. I don't know where the truth lies.
And so, if you ever could be inducted in a World Bearer chapter, which one would you pick?
Um, Mine, but any chapter that wasn't the Serrated Suns, um, I'd want to be part of a Wordbearers chapter that just did the basic grunt work. That
Mm,
they weren't at Calf, they weren't at Terra, they weren't with Ardal Targo onto the walk. They were just word bearers loyal to their Primarch, and they were doing the gods' work somewhere in some system,
mm,
fighting against some garrison, and would continue to do it for the long war as well.
right. And if you have to pick a weapon, would you pick Phosphex or Graviton?
I mean, Phosphex is the weapon for people who don't like having friends, right? So that kind of matches the word bearers a lot. And Graviton's like the cool, quirky alien tech. Love both. Hmm. It's funny because my entire Siege detachment is now based on Phosphex. Literally, that's its thing. So I think Phosphex, but I absolutely love Graviton as well. It's so heresy, like ancient arcane tech that literally just crushes people. And in fact, my two Morbus Bombards that I'm painting, one is called the Weight of Silence, edgy applause,
Mhm.
and that's about graviton, weight, silence, gravity,
Yeah, now
and the other
I got it.
and the other one, Furnace of Dust, Phosphex. It's like fire, it's stuff like that. Big edgy names straight out of the late 90s. Aaron Dembski-Bowden would be proud. Uh,
Yeah,
Phosphex if pushed. Plus, it's
right.
cool and green.
Yeah, good choice. Yeah, I think no, I'm dying laughing every time I ask the questions since I read I think it's might not be in Saturnine, maybe in the first war, when Forix, one of the Iron Warriors leaders,
Yeah,
they are in the Lion Gate spaceport,
yeah.
and actually the Empire they are walking, and then some Iron Warriors walk into Phosphex, and then they are dying in an horrible fashion. And
As you do.
Forex tells his friend, his brother, how those goddamn Imperial Fist, they used Phosphex, and you're like,
I
yeah.
love the comedy moments.
And I think his brother tells him back, but are you sure it's Imperial Fist Phosphex? It might be yours.
It's probably ours. I mean, the Iron Warriors bombed the word bearers in Isfahan as well.
Yeah,
Scumbags.
exactly. So we went through all the questions for this interview. So thanks a lot for playing and answering all those questions. And so just as a conclusion, award for those different miniatures. So obviously 100% word bearer on this slide, but as you said before, I guess different periods, like the Tartaros and the Javelin and the tactical, or maybe it's despoiler sergeant on the side, are not from the same uh, era, if I may say so.
No, absolutely not. So the tactical squad was one of the first ones I did,
Hmm.
and he's got the one of the first actual Heresy era Chaos Space Marine heads ever, which was I think in the early 2000s they released the
Mm.
Iron Warriors. It's a metal head,
Oh yeah.
and it was the first look I think at older marked armor that the Chaos Space Marines used to have, and I got so nerd excited. So I kept that around since about 2005, and I was like, now is the time because the new Mark III are out. I'm going to plop that on
Mm.
him. But in terms of painting style, yeah, the other three pictures have aspects of fluorescence in the edge highlights.
Hmm.
This one does not. I was still playing about with, I guess, contrast and punch and visual clarity and fluorescence versus having a bit more of a grimy, dark red look. Because it's like the more I kind of make them look better, the less word bearers they look.
Yeah.
And that's generally how I felt. I felt like if I wanted to make them look good, they would look less word bearersy. But I think I found a good balance later on with it. But
Yeah.
yeah, certainly for different eras.
The hardest part is to find the right balance. Exactly. Yeah.
Mm.
And I really like the Tartaro squad is very, very cool. I mean, the
There's
board.
some of, I think my favorite squad in the army outside of the Galval back actually.
Mm.
But there are a
Yeah.
lot of lines there, lots of edges to paint fluorescence on, and it's just beautiful models. Absolutely beautiful.
And no, and obviously I really love the big power maces. No, no, power flays. No, what is that? Uh,
The power malls,
the
yeah,
power
but they're
mall.
they're so
Yeah.
big, they're huge.
Yeah. Like I can just imagine what it might do to an enemy, just crushing it in a
Well,
yeah.
the Astartes were made to kill any threat, right? So I imagine there's, this guy could run up to a contemptor. You can see him running to a contemptor and just hitting it so hard it falls over. Like they are walking tanks, these guys. They look hugely threatening.
Mm,
And this is one of the only squads where I've got a bit of chaos iconography
mm,
on the back of the dude, like big chaos star there. I think the only place I've got a chaos star in my army.
yeah. And you talked a bit about those guys, those Slaneshi aficionados.
Oh
So
yeah.
those guys, I mean, those are from Age of Sigma
Yeah.
range, and I have to say that those minis from Age of Sigma are, in general, pretty incredible. The sculpting is very good. There's a lot of dynamism in the poses, etc. They are very, very good. And the only drawback well, I did a few of these recently. It's the building. I just can't do it like the push to fit, and the monopose, and then you have the head with a piece of the hip, and it's the
Yeah.
same
It's
piece.
awful.
Yeah, I can't stand that. Yeah, but
These models are not actually monopose, but I think
yeah.
one of the downsides of Age of Sigmar is that squad of Painbringers down there, the golden guys,
Mm.
um, they come in the same pose. There's no real way to
Ah,
actually
okay.
change their poses.
Mm.
So if you have 10 of them, it's just five replicas
Yeah, okay.
times five times five.
Mm. Yeah.
But they're absolutely beautifully constructed models. I don't think, any other gaming system comes close to Age of Sigmar with
Mm.
the sheer imaginativeness and quality of the designs.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah,
And
and
that,
also the special effects on the minis were
oh yeah,
what you did on the black mirror and the fumes on the smoke on the magic stuff on
yeah,
the
that was me. This is fairly early as well. Like this is a couple of years ago. Like the pearl in the middle of her staff there. Like I had to look at images of a pearl and like, how do I paint a pearl? I don't think I've ever really seen one before.
Mm,
Um, so lots of glazing there, but these were all very time-intensive models actually,
mm,
and like they're just so bright. Again, like there's the use of teal and magenta was the thing of this army, like to get
mm.
those two contrasting colors and as poppy and as colorful as possible.
Yeah. So we are done for now, and well, thanks again, thanks a lot for taking the time to go through the interview. It was my pleasure, as you know, I'm always happy to have a World Bearer fan on the
Yeah,
podcast. But no,
the
it
most
was
biased podcast.
yeah.
Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure. I absolutely love an opportunity to just absolutely nerd out about the hobby and so on. But I think like to kind of sum it up, was a kid, got hooked on Chaos and Red Car, fall into Word Bears because they're dramatic weirdos. Drift away, came back to it, and now I'm deep into it where I'm painting script on tanks like it's a completely normal thing to do. You know, I love it.
Yeah. But that I think we it was with Welsh. He was saying like now that we are grown-ups, we are happy to be nerds again, and it's cool to be a nerd again, and we are talking amongst us nerds about our hobby or passion, and it's just a cool thing to do, and it's very enjoyable. So yeah,
It's a different world now, isn't it? I mean, Henry Cavill is out there saying that Warhammer's the coolest thing in the world. It is not like saying you're into Warhammer now is fine.
mm,
It's not like the 90s. It's okay to be into Warhammer now, guys. Don't worry about it, especially if you're in your 30s. Please don't worry about it. Like,
but
nobody is worried that you're into Warhammer. Go
yeah,
for it. Do what you love.
but go play Heresy, not 40K, etc. Heresy is cool.
Come join us. It's a
Yeah,
bit, you only have to read
exactly. Come
100
join us.
books
Yeah.
and paint 1,000 models.
Yeah, and come give all your money to Games Workshop and have fun with us. That
A small sacrifice for the greater good,
for the Dark Gods.
for the dark
Well,
gods. Blessed be.
so thanks a lot, Anson. Wish you obviously a very Merry Christmas because it's right around the corner.
And
And
you, a great Christmas present for me.
I no, no, sorry, no, no. But maybe next year yeah, you never know. But
Yeah, but this was a present for me, so thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
and no, I hope to see many more miniatures from you, and just have fun with the hobby.
And you, and you. I look forward to seeing many more of your word bearers.
Thanks.